Welcome to What Lies Ahead, the podcast where I explore everything related to the hardcore scene and community. I'm your host, Chris Ruffini, and on this episode, I have Jay from the Long Island hardcore band Last Laugh. Last summer, they released their EP, Bite the Apple, on 51st State Records. In support of this release, they've toured up and down the Northeast. They've also went to Canada last December. We'll talk about their latest release, process in writing songs, and what's next for them moving forward. Jay, thanks for coming on, man. How's it going, bud?
What's up, man? I'm doing good, man. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. So one thing I'll start off with is what I with Long Island hardcore right now as we speak, and we kind of talked about this literally right before we started recording this. But there's what I see, and what's awesome for someone like me, or somewhat of an old timer coming back to shows here and there, is the new crop of bands. And when I say new, let's talk 5 to 8 years, right? New compared to me from the mid to late '90s, but new crop
Yeah,
of bands. And if I'm missing anybody, there's no disrespect to any bands, but like Liberate, 10 Years Out, you guys obviously, Stand Still, Deadshot, so many different bands, Submerge, a lot on 51st State too, by the way. And just what I see with all these bands is this like brotherhood almost. Like you guys have a show today with Private Mind, another band that's killing it. There's a lot of bands out there now that you guys are clearly a very united scene on Long Island. It seems like that. You guys playing together, touring together. Heads Will Roll's another one. Which is pretty
yeah,
awesome to
definitely.
see. Yeah, which is pretty awesome to see. So I kind of wanted to start off with that, and it's just obviously like a very noticeable thing, and all of you guys are great on top of it. But before we get going here, I want to talk a little bit about what first got you into music. And what's awesome with
Mhm.
I'm excited to talk about you is you have a lot of different interests in music and a lot of different projects that you're doing, not just hardcore. So,
For
which will
sure,
be
yeah.
exciting to talk about. So, I want to hear about you, Jay. Was what first you got you into music, and then what kind of built from there that led you going to shows?
So like my pops is in the music industry. He makes like freestyle dance music. He was like very big in the 90s. He sold like platinum records. So I was always like around music growing up, but I was like kind of like an introverted kid. I kind of just did my own thing, just observed. Really like what got me into music was watching like WWE back in the days. I used to watch like SmackDown Raw and Tough Enough. They used to have this like segment, I guess Tough Enough, where they would have these wrestlers try out for like the show.
Mhm.
And this band called Papa Roach had a song called Getting Away with Murder. And for some reason as a kid I loved that song. And I just went and like I bought the record with my family and I would just listen to that CD religiously. And I was like, damn, like I kind of like this stuff. And my dad was just like kind of confused because he always had me around hip hop and dance music. And so this was kind of like left field for him. And like now looking back at it, Papa Roach isn't like the heaviest band ever, but like that was kind of like my segue into like into music in general. And then I kind of just started listening to different like metal rock bands from there. And then really like in high school, I had a friend, his name is Ian. He got me into like heavier music and put me onto bands like Terror. Um, at the time, the Acacia Strain, some deathcore vibes. I listened to like all that stuff. From Terror, I found Backtrack and bands like Incendiary, Straight from the Path. That was like a big Long Island band for me at the time. And then just I started going to shows really after that. Um,
You remember your first show?
yeah, so my first show, like local show, it was a deathcore kind of show. It was this band Last 10 Seconds of Life,
Mhm.
this band King Conquer, and like a bunch of like local bands. It was at Ethical Humanities Society.
Okay.
And I remember I ended up smoking weed with the band King Conquer. Rest in peace, 'cause I think their guitarist, one of the dudes we smoked with, he passed away. But they actually like taught me how to like mosh. They were like, "Yeah, you just got to go in there, like just protect your face." And like, I thought it was so funny. I look back at it now because like, man, that venue's not here anymore. I was like, "Damn, man, such a
Yeah,
crazy time."
right.
But like, yeah,
Crazy.
after that, I started just like going to different type of shows, whether it was deathcore gigs, hardcore shows. Like, I kind of would just go to shows by myself for a while because like a lot of my friends were into like more hip hoppy like type things. So I would just go by myself. Um, and then like what really, really, really like got me into hardcore was definitely a band named Backtrack. Obviously,
Mhm.
Long Island. I
Yeah.
have a Backtrack tattoo. But
Wow.
um, but yeah, Backtrack just made me want to like start moshing, going to shows, stage dive, like just make friends and do all that shit. Um,
Mhm.
But it was always just like hard because I was going to shows, but in the midst, like I was doing my hip hop shit. So I would be like at the studio, I'd be like, damn, I want to go see bands at Shakers. I would run to Shakers, go to the show, and then go back to the studio. Like I was always just like going to a show and then leaving to go do something else. Like I was always keeping it going.
It's great. You're doing like different things too. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, man.
that's what's
Um,
important. It's fun. It's one of the things you said too. It's like, from your first show, look, you're hanging out with the band that you hung out with. And I remember when I first started going to shows, I was like, first it was music concerts and all that big stuff. And then,
yeah.
you're walking around these local shows, hardcore shows, and it's just like the bands are walking around like with you and you're hanging with them. And to me, that was like, I was I was a teenager at that point in time. I'm like, wow, I'm like, this is like, I could be doing this every weekend. And then it just kind of like, it grew from there.
Yeah, I was always used to like being around like musical artists because of my pops being in
Yeah,
the industry and stuff. So I was always like occasionally I would be around like a pit bull, like random people, but it's just like
that's crazy.
these
Yeah,
people are all human, you know. So like it was kind of like a cool thing to go to a show locally and meet the band that you listen to all the time and like connect with them on like a personal level. It's like something that I feel like you don't normally get in music with the artists you listen to unless it's like something local or something. And I'm pretty sure they're from Florida. I think they're from Naples. So
that's cool.
they weren't like a local band. They were on tour. So it was cool like that, they took the time out to chop it up with us. Like I was young at the time, probably like I can't even remember, maybe like
For sure.
17,
Yeah.
18.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you just sit there hanging and then it grew from there.
I
So
gotta make another nod too, like, cause another like first show I had, I guess this was like a first like scary show I've ever been to. It was it's at this venue called One Stop Media. I wanted to see, oh my God, I think I can't remember the band. Oh, this band, they were like a metalcore band. They're like called Existence. But this band, I'll never forget, this band called Strength Through Suffering played. You know, Strength Through
mhm,
Suffering?
mhm, mhm.
Yeah, Strength Through Suffering played, and I didn't know what to expect. And the entire room just turned into like a fucked up war zone. My friends were getting punched in the face. They never even been to shows. They don't even listen to the music. They just came with me. Like
Oh, they
the
must have been like,
room
what
just
is going
ignited.
on?
And it's a crazy story because now I play in a band with members of Strength Through Suffering.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Full
Charlie.
circle, right?
Charlie used to play in Strength Through Suffering. I think Jake played in the band for a little while. My drummer. So yeah, it's funny. It's like a full circle thing. Rest in
100%.
peace, One Stop
So
Media too, because that was a cool
yeah.
band.
Yeah. So how did you guys form then with Last Laugh? So you started going shows. Obviously, you mentioned some of the guys in the band are with you now. So how did that start with Last Laugh?
Yeah, so as I mentioned like earlier, I've been going to shows for 11 years now, since like I want to say 2013,
Mhm.
2012 was like my first like deathcore show. I probably started going to hardcore shows 2013. But I would just go to shows and leave. So I wasn't really like sitting around and like I would make friends, but I wasn't just like talking to everyone all the time, hanging out after the shows. Like I wasn't like partaking like in like the personal portion of hardcore for a
Mhm.
while. And then COVID happened and like the few friends I did have from shows would always just invite me out to like, get coffee, ride bikes. Shout out to my friend Matt Reinecker. He plays in Standstill. My boy Lil Joe, he plays in Heads Will Roll. We
Mhm.
started like a bike chat over COVID, and it's like all anyone who was involved in hardcore kind of got roped into the bike chat, and that kind of got me into the community aspect of hardcore a lot more during COVID. So I got to give a shout out to my brother DK Verano. He makes hip hop music, but he used to sing in a band called Red 100. I don't know if you're aware of that band. They were a
Heard
Long
of it.
Island
Yeah.
band. Pharaoh Taz as well used to play in that band. But he knows me through hip hop, so he hit me up and was like, "Yo, like, would you do vocals in a band?" And I was like, "Yeah, like, I've always wanted to, but it just never like lined up in that type of way." So he was like, "Yo, I'm gonna send you some music. We should link up soon." And I just like I took it as like it is what it is. Like if he sends me something, it'll be cool. If not, then I'm not losing sleep over it. But like a week and a half later, he sent me like some demo tracks and was like, "Yo, we're gonna practice this week. Like, just come by and see what's up." And I pulled up to practice, and I met Charlie, who's our guitarist. At the time, Charlie had lymphoma,
Mm.
so he was dealing with cancer treatments, like
Oh,
almost on the
Jesus.
brink of like death, honestly, which
Wow.
is very crazy.
Yeah.
So he was just writing all these different riffs while he was fighting this disease, and they became some of the first Last Laugh songs. So
Okay.
we linked up. I did that practice with them, and we wrote our first two songs. I'm pretty sure it was "Hang You" and uh Invert. Those are the first two
Okay.
songs we made. First practice. We didn't even
First
have a
practice.
bassist. It was just the drums, guitar, and vocals.
Okay.
So that's how the band kind of started, man. And then we knew like we wanted a bassist, so DK wanted to ask Matt to do it. Matt hadn't ever played bass, but he decided, he would pick up the instrument for the band, which I love him for. Um, and then from there, yeah, the band kind of just happened. We practiced like once or twice more. I think I posted a 10-second clip on our Instagram, and Michael Smith from Pain of Truth was like, "Yo, play the show," and send us like a show. I think it was Warren, Apex Predator, Heads Will Roll, and us.
Mm,
And that was our first show. Yeah. We weren't
that's
even ready
great.
for it. We played probably 3 songs. I think Matt had to drop the bass for the last song because he didn't know it. Yeah, it was a funny story.
Those are the best shows though, right? That's how you do it. You get up there, you drop, you play the 3 songs, and the rest is kind of history to where you guys are now. So, how
Yeah.
would you say, because I want to get into your songwriting, the process of it, but what would you
Mhm.
say, I'm gonna like, I hear you guys, it's in your face, heavy. You guys have a really good live show. I've seen you guys a couple of times.
Appreciate that.
Catchy lyrics, catchy choruses, that kind of thing, but not like you're trying.
Yeah.
And I think that also kind of connects with your hip hop background that we're going to 100% talk about in a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, talk about what you guys when you started. You said like, look, you like kind of after COVID, you guys wrote some songs. Was it you just got together, or you're like, look, let's be heavy, let's do
Well, the
this, let's
band
do
honestly started like 2013. I mean, 2023, rather. Like I was
that?
really, like I said, like I got into like more of the community aspect of hardcore, like hanging out with everyone at the shows, like hanging out after the shows, like all that shit, like during COVID. But the band happened in like 2023. So
Okay,
I got the text from Dylan DK around like probably March. We had our first practice in April. The show was announced by May. We played in June. So it was like a very quick thing.
move quick.
But like I approached it differently because obviously I didn't want to write the same as I do for my hip hop stuff, but I also didn't want to be a band that like was focused on a lot of like negative lyrics, like negative aspects. I feel like there's a lot of negative hardcore that exists,
Mhm,
and there's nothing wrong with it. I love negative hardcore. That's like my favorite type of hardcore, but I wanted to make music that kind of could help like get people moving, as
mm,
opposed to something that people listen when they're dwelling.
yeah.
So really just like the first song Invert was really just about just where I'm from, being from Long Island on the South Shore, dealing with drugs and, corruption, all that different shit. Like, so that's really where that came from, just like separating myself from that. And then the other songs just kind of came naturally. Street Love is kind of like a hip hop record. I feel
Yeah.
like everyone that like loves Street Love, I notice is kind of like a hip hop head in a way.
Mhm.
But
Well,
that's just
yeah.
really about
Sorry
just
to
like,
interrupt, but it's going to have that naturally with your
yeah,
different
yeah.
interests and
I knew
styles.
that too, but I also like I wanted to keep it like straight in your face. But street love, yeah,
Mhm,
that's just about, like fake love in the streets, not being able to trust everyone, shit like that. Hanging is
mhm,
just about being judged, like which everybody could relate to. Everyone gets judged. It's just like
mhm.
real, like I just wanted to write about real scenarios, but from a looking forward standpoint instead of like dwelling.
That's great. Yeah, like reality. So, like when you guys write, do you have lyrics almost set up and then you work it over the music, or it's like you hear the music and then it's like, oh, like it's giving you an idea of like, this is the topic I'd like to address for the
Nah,
song.
so they usually have the instrumentals figured out by the time I write. Charlie usually comes up with riffs. He has an electronic drum kit now. At the time, we would just kind of like figure the drums out in Logic, like, just to like have a placemat, so that way we have an idea and then we bring it in, play it with the whole band, and I write lyrics. That's
And then
kind of
it
just
goes
how
like
we do
that.
it. Sometimes I'll have lyrics going in, ideas, and I'll tweak them. But for the most
Of
part,
course.
it's instrumental. I let the band do their thing. I let the band be the band, and then I come in and add the
And you come in
finishing
after.
touches.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. What would you say some of your influences are? Now, obviously, you guys have your own. There's always influences, but you guys have your own sound, obviously.
Yeah.
But what would you say some things that are like, and that you would look at in terms of when the music? Because obviously, there's different guys in the band. Everyone is going to have different influences, and then you guys put it together, and then you
I
have
mean, I
less.
could put like all of our influences together. Like, I mean, obviously, like I said, Backtrack's one of my favorite bands. I love Crown of Thorns,
Mm,
Biohazard, bands like that. Charlie loves 25 to Life, Cro-Mags. Um, Matt is into like more like the punk oi shit. Listens to all different types of bands. Matt loves Black Flag, shit like that. So it's like it's hard
Six.
to like say because all of our influences are just all these different types of bands, and it doesn't really mesh up to the sound that comes out of our band. But the
Right.
influence is all there. you know?
But it's all there. That's all there.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's great.
I
And
mean,
like,
my influence too, like I said, I grew up like the way I just got into heavier music was like through metal and shit like that. So I still listen to my Papa Roach. You know, still love like my old school Slipknot, old school new metal, all that shit. Like that's just that's factored into it too. You know,
to
I
me,
keep
and
it
like,
hardcore, but
you
got
keep
the
listening to the
ideas.
other
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, like I agree, and like most people I speak to, myself included, started with metal. Like metal led me to the scene. And to this day, I still listen. I still listen to metal because it's very influential for me. So I absolutely agree with you. So that's great. So
There's
you
so
guys
many
have
like different like sorry to interrupt, but there's
no,
like
no,
so
go.
many different bands that like I was growing up listening to that maybe I didn't like 100%, but I look back now and I'm like, oh, this is probably where like I got my love for hardcore. Like
Yeah,
there's like bands like I don't know, I listen to like old school My Chemical Romance. That was like one of my favorite bands as a young kid, and like a lot of their early shit is super punky, like super
sure.
punky. They were really heavily into like New Jersey hardcore. Like I'm pretty sure they played a few like they played Hellfest. Like
Yes. Hmm.
so like bands like that, I don't know, like another band, like I'm pretty sure they're canceled now, but this band Aiden, like as a kid, like I used to like watch Fuse and their music videos would be on the TV and I was like, damn, this was like just so like depressingly like good, you know? And then
Yeah.
they had you go back and listen to it and it's like the punk influence, all that shit was there and they were playing with all those bands, like
Back then, yeah, like those bands
yeah.
too. A lot of those bands, they come from something. It's like so. It's like me. Like when I was metal, it was metal, and then it was like Then I got into LOA, River Runs Red, and then Biohazard, which were
Mhm.
hardcore
Oh yeah.
adjacent, obviously, but they
Yeah,
were
it still
they
has
were
that metal
blow,
influence though, you
but
know?
they were blowing
Yeah.
up, and then they led me into VOD, and then VOD
VOD,
led me
yeah.
into everything. Like VOD led me into Gorilla Biscuits, right? It's like
I
so
love
all these
VOD,
things
man.
opened it up. So yeah, so for sure, and that's awesome that these different influences, but you guys clearly have your own distinct sound, and
And I was
it's
always like around
crazy.
hardcore like
Yeah,
unintentionally too. Like my mom's best friend, her husband is related to someone in neglect. So
it's
I
crazy,
I
man. It's
used to
small world.
always get like the neglect, like the burned CDs from him all the time, like, yo, check this out, and all these different types of
Cool.
bands. And as a kid, I'd be like, what the hell is this? And now like I listen to neglect like actually now, and I'm like, damn, like this is crazy. Like
Isn't that
as a kid,
amazing,
like
right? Like all these years later, it's
but
cool.
it's Long Island, man. It's the beauty of Long Island. Like Long Island is such like heavily rooted in like the hardcore roots of Long Island are so special, I feel like.
I agree with you.
We
Yeah,
take
well,
it for granted a lot, you know?
absolutely. Like the fact, like someone like me, I'm still around, and coming here and there to shows, and it really is deep rooted. It is, and that's the best thing
Yeah.
about it. Now speaking of which is cool with, so you guys writing, you guys are fairly new, obviously, and then you had your EP
Mhm.
drop last summer on 51st State Records. How did that come about? In terms
For
of
sure.
connecting with 51st State, obviously it's I would call a Long Island based label that's blowing up.
Mhm.
Um, but how did you connect with them?
Yeah, so, we kinda, like, connected with 51st Records off the gate when the band kinda kicked off. So I know Joey through the bike chat that we started during
Uh,
COVID. We would always ride bikes together. We would all just go all over the island, like Stony Brook, sometimes hit the South Shore, like everywhere. So I rode bikes with Joey before. He was in the chat, like, and my friend Jimmy sings in Life Taken, obviously. Shout out Jimmy Longspa. But he
Another
was
one,
like,
like
"Yo."
another band. By the way, like I don't know if I mentioned them in the beginning. Like another one, like,
Yeah, shout
another
out
good
Life Taken.
comeuppance. Like
I was
there's
with
so many
Taquan,
good,
their drummer, last night.
so many bands, man. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, nah, it's there is really it's so hard, man. Like even to
Great.
like think of bands off the top of the head, I know I forget. But yeah, so I hit Joey up just off the gate and was like, "Yo, like we got some songs, like would you put them out?" And he was like, "Yeah," he was totally down. He pressed up some tapes for us, like helped us out. And that's pretty much how that happened, honestly. Ever since then, he's just been dropping the music. Whenever we want to put something out, we just kind of hit him up and coordinate, you know.
Yeah, no, that's great. So let's talk about that the newer EP that you guys have out
Mm. Yeah.
with Bite the Apple. Like, so what would you say? What's your favorite track on that
Ugh,
EP?
it's hard to say, man. I really liked Next in Line. That was my favorite song for a
Hmm.
while. Now I think it's just Bite the Apple, honestly.
Hmm. Nice. Yeah, you go with that. It could change, right? When you have your material, right? Like you
Yeah,
take
I
what
just like because the way that song happened is very crazy. You mind if I tell the story? I'll tell it real
go
quick.
ahead. Oh, go.
So, Charlie had the idea of Bite the Apple recorded like over 10 years ago. I guess it was going to be for like a different band he had. So when we were looking for songs after the demo to kind of like work on, he sent that idea. And I was like, dude, I said, this song is crazy. I said, let me tweak with it. And I can't at the time I wasn't playing bass, so I can't pick up an instrument and play. So I took the file that he gave me, I like dropped it into Logic and just started chopping the song up and like rearranging it. And what I liked the most about it, the song kind of felt like a tornado to me. Like it kind of started so chaotic, and then it hits that two step, and then it kind of just like keeps swirling back to like where you started. So I was like, damn, this is cool. And he named the file Apple. So I called the song Bite the Apple and I just wrote it around that. And I was like,
That's
I thought of the
cool.
concept and I thought it was pretty cool because I don't know, like we live in a society these days where a lot of people follow what the next man's doing without really thinking about it.
Yeah.
And which is
Yeah.
something I want to touch on later when we get deeper into our conversation. But I just kind of made Bite the Apple about that, just like
Cool. And then naturally
uh,
that became the album. Like,
follow the
yeah.
leader.
Yeah,
Instead of
naturally,
picking up
that's
stones.
what that's why you gave it that title, right? Because
Yeah,
obviously it means a lot to you and the band. What
yeah.
about the cover art? How did that come about?
The cover art. All right, so this is like I knew when we had this EP that we needed like art that really did the music justice. And we did a run last March with a band called Comeuppance. Shout out Comeuppance,
Come up and
other
say,
new breed Long Island hardcore band, and they're actually youngins doing it. So like
hmm
we're a newer, I guess we get considered to be a newer band, but like we're all almost 30. Besides Dan, I'm 30. I'm pretty sure Dan's the youngest person in the band, our new
hmm
guitarist. But yeah, we played a run with Comeuppance, and they had this girl with them. Her name is Grace. She does artwork. She did the tour poster, and she was selling the tour posters on the run. And I saw her art, and I thought it was really sick. So I reached out to her, and I was like, "Yo, would you do the art for us?" And she was super down. For reference, we gave her "Cause for Alarm" by Agnostic Front, the cover. I gave her "Darker Hat" by Backtrack. We really just wanted like something that captured that vibe, you know. And she like completed the assignment to the max, in my opinion. I think it's such a sick like representation of the music. Honestly, shout out to Grace.
Yeah,
Awesome.
it goes with the almost the tone of like of the EP. You know, it's like
Yeah,
the
yeah,
you see the cover and then you put it on. It just goes with it. It's yeah, did a nice job with that.
yeah. She killed it, man. Like honestly, like I couldn't imagine that EP being out with any other cover other than that. Like it just like it felt like it was meant to be. You
It's
know.
perfect, right? And all the whole it seems like the whole band
Yeah.
was yeah, this is what we're going with, right?
Yeah, everyone as soon as they saw it, they were like, "Oh hell yeah! Like this is it." Like it was really like a lot of the times, like when we get together, when there's five heads coming together, it's hard to agree on one thing. But I feel like that was one thing that we all knew, like, okay, this is it. You know?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, when especially
Yeah,
if you're a bunch of guys in the band, everybody has different opinions, obviously, and that's what makes it work. But that's
yeah,
like when you know sometimes kind of thing, and that was one of them. That's great.
for sure.
So you guys, so we talked a little bit about your lyrics.
Hmm.
Like you talked about one extra because you mentioned something before, so maybe we'll talk about that a little now. You like with some things like themes, you know,
Hmm.
of what you like to talk about, and we can kind of explore that from there. You know.
Yeah, man. I mean, if you want to keep talking about Bite the Apple, it's just like I wanted to write about different things, and I feel like I got kind of straight away from my mission that I mentioned earlier, where I kind of wanted to make uplifting hardcore that kept people moving forward. Like because there is like the way it is, which is I think the third song on Bite the Apple. It's more of like a just talking about how fucked up the world is and how you gotta survive through it, and shit like that. I wrote next in line about I got fired from one of my last jobs, so I wrote next in line
Mhm.
about getting fired. Just
Mm.
being an asset to a company, not
By the
being
way, when you play that
legitimate.
live, that must be so meaningful to you, right?
Dude,
Like
I
just
love
to
playing that song, honestly. Like,
right? Like just to get that out, it just is so meaningful, right?
you know
Sorry
how
to interrupt you.
hard it
Yeah, it's gotta
was to get the rest of the guys to play that song. They were like, "No, we should play this song. We should do this." I was like, "No, guys." I said,
be. Yeah.
"Trust me." I said, "This is the one." And when we the first time we played it, I think it was in Troy, New York. There wasn't like a lot of people at the show, but people were moshing more than they were to the other song that the rest of the band wanted to play. So after the set, I was like, and now we play it all the time, and
Cool.
there's no debate.
Mhm.
But I love that song. That was like, I don't know. To me, that's just like I said, I like heavy negative hardcore, like mostly. So like, I feel like that song was like our heavier, like take
One. Yeah. Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
project. You know?
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. So you guys, you play around a lot. You do. You know, it's like, you guys are active. Absolutely. But like you said, we were talking before. Everybody's,
Mhm.
30 years old. You have careers, so it's not as easy to just pick up and go for like 2, 3 weeks. But you have
Nah.
on some runs here, so which I want to talk about. So I'm going to go
Mhm.
back a little, then we can work our way up. But
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
did a
absolutely.
little. Was it 2 weeks with Private Mind, right? A little before the EP dropped, from what I recall. It
Yeah,
was
yeah,
around
we
that
did,
time. How was that?
so we did 10 days with Private Mind.
Hmm.
And it was awesome. We all shared a van. Those are our homies too, so it
Yeah.
was kind of like it felt like it was just a natural like hangout the entire time. But the shows are great. That show that we played in Troy that I just mentioned was the first date of that tour. It was Troy, um, Massachusetts. We did Jersey at Salty's with Drug Church and Soul Blind.
Oh,
Um, Detroit. I'm sorry, Pontiac, Michigan. Uh, Kentucky, Louisville. Did Huntsville, Alabama. Virginia, and I'm missing one more, two more. So sorry, people
it's all good.
of
But you
these
guys
of
hit
these
around a
cities that
lot
I
of different
can't remember.
spots. No,
But
but
we
you hit
do
a
play
lot
a
of
lot of
different.
shows, so it's
Yeah,
hard.
yeah,
But yeah, the run was honestly awesome. Just being able to watch Private Mind every day is honestly just a treat in itself. I fucking love that band. Can I
yeah,
curse?
really good.
I don't know if I can curse, but yeah, I love Private
No,
Mind.
no.
So it was just a fun ass time. We had a great time, a lot of laughs. Every show was a great time. Yeah, that was like probably one of my favorite runs, and it was the longest run we've done so far.
Yeah, it's a long time, so you had to take off, and it's the biggest thing. You're with your boys, right? So
Yeah,
that
well,
makes it.
it's because like this band kind of started as like we're just gonna play locally type of thing because of like Charlie's condition at the time, fighting lymphoma, and then by the time we played our second show, he beat it. He got like the port out of his chest removed. I remember like
Awesome.
we couldn't play our second show. We had to keep saying no to shows because they keep trying to offer us shows, and Charlie had to get his the monitor in his chest out. So our
Yeah.
second show was actually at the Meat Locker in Jersey. So like once we did that, it was the Meat Locker Friday, and then we did Saturday Media PA and Sunday home in Long Island at Sand City. We did that weekend, and we were like, yo, like maybe this is the key to like us playing multiple shows. It's just like doing weekends where we travel, and that
Right.
was just the cheat code for us.
Right.
Honestly,
Yeah.
we've done like 4 different weekends. We did one with Knife Wound from Atlanta. Shout out to them. We did Comeuppance, um, the Private Mind run.
Yeah.
I'm doing a run with Liberate and Big Shot next
Yeah.
month.
It's coming up, right, in a month, give
Yeah,
or take. Hmm.
yeah, it's gonna be really cool. I'll talk more about that.
It's cool.
Um,
So, how do you guys get set up? These, like, how did the Private Mind tour get set up? Do you guys do it yourself? Do you DIY in a way, or do you call someone like, look, we're looking to? Did you know those are the places you wanted to hit?
to be honest, Private Mind reached out to us and asked us to do that run,
Okay.
and we agreed to it. They're on Triple B Records, so I'm not sure if that had something to do with the routing or um, I think Days had a hand in it too, in helping the routing, and
Cool.
Mike Smith, Nothing Stronger Bookings.
Hmm.
But yeah, as far as I didn't pick the locations, I agreed to the tour and they sent us the dates. I
Wherever
said,
it goes, right? Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we're off. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's how
Look, like,
that went.
what's cool too, like now is tour. Like back, I'm gonna date myself, but I have to here. So like back in the day when people would go on tours, you wouldn't know how it was going. What was great was like
Mhm.
you guys were posting on Instagram and you could see that. And I know everyone's like, all right, Chris, like obviously that's 2025. But like my point is you could see how that tour went. You could
Yeah,
see what you guys were doing. You were posting clips of it, you were posting stuff, and it was awesome. It was like it's like you're kind of going along the ride with you with those shows.
yeah. I like posting a lot on our social media just because, like,
Mhm.
I don't know, I feel like sometimes you got to see it to believe it with a band, and I feel like every time we perform, like, we prove ourselves. Like, I can confidently say that. So, like,
Mhm.
showing people, is a big part too.
Yeah,
Even
no,
word to mouth, like, oh, have you checked out Last Lab? It's like, oh, I just never listened to this band before, but I just seen this video of them fucking up a room in Kentucky. It looks insane. Like, I need to see this band, you know?
right.
So, like, that's why I always try and, like, but for a minute, like, up until the Private Mind tour, we filmed every single show we played. The
That's
Private
great.
Mind show is actually where we broke that tradition,
Hmm.
the Private Mind tour. Just because it was so many shows, we're all just like,
Yeah, it's like
no
you're so
space
yeah,
on the phone.
you pick it up,
It
getting in the
was
van, and you go into the next place. Like it gets
Yeah,
yeah,
it's so but
yeah,
I like to have that archive. I'm glad we have an archive of at least our first like 10, 15 shows because it's like you could hear the difference. Like from our first show, like we sounded so awful. I look back and I'm like, oh my God. I was watching our set from the Meat Locker yesterday and I was like, we sounded so bad, but kids were going crazy. It's like, and
mhm.
now we're trying to hopefully get there soon, go back to
That's
the Meat
great.
Locker and
I
like,
mean, great with
yeah.
what you said because it's like obviously you're watching it, and to you, it's like all right, we could. like there's growth there, and that's how it should be. Because like you guys are not, you're like you said, you're a few years old, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
right, and you guys have but you have a lot of miles on what you did over the last few years,
mhm,
and to go back to what I said in the beginning, it's like you have that bike chat that you guys
yeah.
that text that group. Look who's all on that. Look who's all, like all the bands that I mentioned, and I missed some, and that's why you see this brotherhood on Long Island right now with you
Yeah,
guys.
it's special, man. We have a special scene, man. It's very welcoming and dope. It's funny. On Valentine's Day, I went to the city and I was wearing my Day Style hat. And the conductor, he's like Day Style. He's like, you listen to hardcore? I was like, yeah. I told him I was like, I play in a band, and he was telling me he's like, I love how unified like the new scene is. He's like, back in the '90s, he's like, I would go to shows and like me and my girl would get crazy looks just for like the fits we would wear and like he's like, it was not welcoming like it is now. And it's like, so
Yeah, it
like I was
doesn't
thinking
matter
about
anymore.
like when you said that earlier, like before we started the recording, and it's just like what it is now and what it was then is so different.
Yeah,
It's like,
it is, and you could definitely see it with all of you,
yeah,
and that's what's great. So, like, another one you had, I know you did a weekend with Heads Will Roll in Canada, right? And maybe in
yep,
December? Yeah,
yep.
like,
That was
yeah,
December.
how was that, and how did that come about?
Those are also our really close friends. So
Mhm,
so that run was really funny. Honestly, I have no complaints about that weekend. Everything was super smooth, awesome. The shows were great. Like the food was awesome. Had a
mhm,
lot of great laughs, a lot of great memories. Canada is awesome. I love Canada.
yeah,
Uh, I've always wanted to go, so it was a cool time. It's cool that I get to see and we get to see different places that we've never been before through the music, you know? I think that's the coolest thing about it. It's just like we get to play hardcore music, which we love to do, and express ourselves and also see new things, you know?
right, outside of Long Island, you're hitting these different
Yeah.
states, countries, it's great, and, like, who knows what's more to come, obviously, this year for you guys,
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So I mentioned it a couple times here, but want to talk about you don't only just do last laugh.
Mm.
You got an eclectic background with music. You talked about
Yeah.
obviously dad in the business. You got a pretty thriving hip hop career, honestly, that you do, that you have. So let's talk about some stuff. You even have Evil Ways, right? You have a band
Yep.
now. So let's why
Yeah,
don't we talk
man.
a little bit about Evil Ways and what you've been doing with hip hop?
Cool, man. So, yeah, as far as the hip hop stuff, I go by Jaysix. I've been making hip hop music for like over 10 years. Um, and I have a career in it, like I have extensive amounts of projects. I've toured off of it. I've been to Germany, I've been to France. I just recently did a tour in France over the summer. Actually, 3 weeks before we did the tour of Private Line. Like I went to France for 3 weeks, came home and worked for 10 days, and then went on the 10-day tour with that.
Mhm.
So I've just like I've always done hip hop. I'm very deep into it. I'm always in the studio, always creating. I'm working on an album right now. It's called Turn
Right.
Me Cold. It's actually done, but I'm just trying to get the finishing touches put on it. I did a tour. That France tour I did was pretty much to support the album.
Mhm.
And I got a lot of new things coming. I just produced a project for my homie. Rest in peace. My brother Fat Eye just passed away. I just want to say rest in peace to my
Mhm.
bro. I produced his entire new album. So the next step for the J6 stuff, once I put my album out, is to just really lock in and complete his project and get with his family and roll that out. That's like my plans right now, for that.
Awesome. And that all anticipating this year, I would assume, right?
Yeah, 100%. The album has
Cool.
to come out this year,
Yeah.
or else it's over. So it's coming out.
Wanna get it
Don't
out, right?
worry. Yeah,
Um,
and then Evil Ways is the new band I'm playing. I'm playing bass. That kind of just came about my friends trying to start a band. Dan, my guitarist from Last Laugh, and Sam, the drummer of New York City Shootout, NYC Shootout, they kind
mhm,
of came together and started making like a new band. They kind of like wanted to like be take the inspiration from Bad Seed a little bit. We got the name from an Iron Age song, Evil Ways.
mhm.
They needed a vocalist, and they were like, "Yo, like, we needed vocalists." I was like, "Damn, I want to front another band," but they were like, "We want someone that's never done vocals before." I was like, "Why don't you guys ask Julian?" So they asked my friend Julian, who's been going to shows for years too. You know what I mean? Probably you probably seen him. He's probably punched you in the face a few times. Um, he's crazy, but that's how that happened. So they kind of just came together where they got the music done, and then Julian wrote the lyrics, and they asked me to play bass once I put it all together, and I was pretty hyped because I kind of helped put the band together. So it's cool
Cool.
that I could be a part of it.
How many songs do you guys have?
Right now we got 5 songs. We just put out a demo. on the 20th. We
Oh,
play
great.
our first show on the 19th. It was kind of like a secret set though, so it's not real. Our
Mhm.
first real show is tonight, and we're
Tonight,
playing it
Sand City.
because our fallen brother just passed away, and he
Mm.
wanted to see us play really bad. So we decided we're gonna hop on the show and do a set for him.
That's great. That's great. That should be a fun one tonight that you
It's gonna
guys are
be
doing.
awesome, man.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a special night. I'm excited to play, and especially
Yeah.
home too, because our first that secret set we played was in Brooklyn. So it's cool to be able to play on the island,
Play on the
despite
island.
the shitty weather outside.
The weather, yeah, but you have rain. I think you'll be fine. You'll fine. People will be coming out to that one.
Yeah, it's gonna be dope, man. I'm
Yeah.
excited.
So going back to your record with hip hop records. So
Yeah,
do you have tours planned for that and support label, or where you at with that right now?
everything that I've done with Jaysix is 100% independent. I've
No.
done it all myself.
Which is
Uh,
easier sometimes, right?
yes and no.
In ways.
For the first like 8 years of my career, I had such a tunnel vision with just the music, focusing on the music and making the music sound good. And the music sounding good is like 10% of the job, especially these days in the music industry that we have. It's a lot of content, a lot of money to invest behind it. And honestly, these past few years, like ever since I started with Last Laugh, like my life is kind of like taking a different pace where, now I have the band. So I'm still making, don't get me wrong, I'm never going to stop rapping. I'm never going to stop making music, but it's just now I have a band that I play in. I have two bands. I have a job. I have the J6 career, my hip hop stuff.
Right.
So it's really just a matter of timing and figuring out like when and what's going to happen next. Once I finish my album and I get it out, I'm probably going to do a home show. I haven't done a Long Island show in almost 2 years. So that's
Oh,
like
okay.
really going to probably be the first step. I'm going to do a show at home. Maybe I'll have a band or two play if it makes sense. I think
Mhm.
that would be cool. But after that, yeah, then I'm just going to see where the road takes me. Hopefully out of state shows and more new music, man. I've been locked in. So
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's right. It's once it comes out, it's kind of like the music will lead the way, right? And then
yeah,
you'll
man,
have
and like honestly, there's no need to rush like music, especially in today's day and age. I feel like music is very microwavable these days. It's like you hear a song one day and then next week you forget it. I want to make
yeah.
timeless music. I've always made meaningful music or tried to make meaningful music. So if it takes a year or two, then that's fine for me because I got other things going on right now. As long as
Yeah.
I'm making music, like that's all I need to be doing. As long as I'm
Right.
creating some way somehow, it's gonna all work out.
And you're doing that in three different ways, three different
Yeah,
bands
man.
really.
And listen, I'm so blessed to have Last Laugh, man, because this is something like to front a hardcore band was something I've wanted for so long, just to like be able to channel that emotion and let it out and have this as an outlet has been something that's been so special to me. And I and
Yeah.
I I appreciate every show we play. Like I don't take any moment of this band for granted, ever.
That's great that that's what you're saying is because a lot of times I'll talk to people on here and one of the things, and I'm going to ask you this, towards the end here,
Yeah.
but a lot of people talk about when if they can go back when they were younger. A lot of people talk about how they're not in the moment, enjoying what's going on. You are clearly
Yeah,
doing
man.
that, which is
Well,
great
it's taken so
because
much. Like
you don't know.
it's
Like you said before, you don't know. Like you play every
yeah.
show, like it could be your last. You don't know. You have no idea. What could happen with this,
Yeah, man.
and that's the best piece of it. And it seems like you're 100% doing that with all three different um, musical things that you have going on here.
Yeah, man. It's just life is short, man. And you see a
Right.
lot of people that go through life and are miserable and don't get to do the things they want to do. And I
Yeah.
I made a promise to myself like when I was younger that wouldn't be the life I live. And like I'm very fortunate to be able to do all the things I've been able to do to travel out the country like off music just for my
Awesome.
solo stuff like out of nowhere like to then be able to play in this band to be asked to play these runs and these tours and to have people that know the words. Like, that's a new thing for me like because like for the hip hop you don't have a gang of people singing the lyrics, so it's like I'm
You.
still getting used to the fact that people grab the mic when we play and it's all new to me, man. It's like
Right. It's cool. And
but
I'll
I
keep
love it.
going, man. The more you keep doing it, it's going to
I
keep
love it,
building
man.
like it has
Yeah.
been, which is
And
great.
I'm grateful that people like it too, because it's like it's one thing that like I get to play in the band and that like I'm doing it for myself and enjoying it, but it's cool that it resonates with other people too, you know?
Yeah, it's awesome. So to kind of build on that, where do you see yourself and the band You have and you have two bands, and you have the hip, and you have Jaysix, the hip hop thing. But
Yeah,
where do you see that? And even individually, let's say in 5 years from now, if we jumped in a DeLorean, which I'm dating myself with Back to the Future, but again, but
yeah.
let's say you go 5 years from the future now. Where do you see yourself individually and with music?
Honestly, for my solo stuff, I really I want to open a studio. I kind of have a studio right now. I'm just working on building it from the ground up. I want to open a studio and really just have a studio that is the home for everything that I create. You know, I
Mhm.
make beats for my friends. I want them to be able to come and record with me and trust me because they know that I care about their music. So they don't have to pay someone 100 something bucks to just press a button and then roll their eyes and leave and never go back to the song. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so like that's what I want to do with the J6 stuff. Also, like if I could travel more and play shows for that, that would be awesome. You know, like I said, I've been fortunate to like leave the country and do things like that, but I haven't traveled much across the US to with my raps. It's only
Mhm.
been like New York City, Philly, LA, Texas, you know.
That's
Some
cool. Where in
spots,
Texas
but
did you go?
Austin. I did South by Southwest 2020, it was
Okay.
2018 and 2019.
Austin has an amazing scene
Yeah,
across the
yeah, yeah.
board, so
I
that's great.
love Texas, man. I
Mhm.
love Texas. I can't wait for Last Laugh to get to Texas. So
I keep saying
that
that
that'd
too.
be
Like I want to, maybe we'll jump in there with you because I Austin
shit, man.
is a great scene. I've been there for bunch. There's a bunch of different venues that are great.
Yeah, my friends Bayway and Negative Force, they are two New Jersey bands.
Yep.
They're doing a Texas run right now. They're out
Yeah.
there. It looks insane. They just did
Yeah.
the first night last night. They were sending me videos. It looks crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So that's great, man. So you have that. So let's get into quick, I guess. So upcoming Northeast, we kind of spoke about it, but last laugh, you have it's Liberate Big Shot. You're hitting like PA, Poughkeepsie. Um, what else? What's going on for last laugh after that?
I'll drop the bomb, man.
Uh,
Liberate and Last Laugh are doing a split. We're recording it in the next month.
awesome.
We should be out before the summer.
That's great.
So that's what
That's
we're doing now. We've been in the
51st
lab
state.
cooking. Listen, I don't know.
Yeah,
We gotta
coming out. You know
the
that.
only reason I don't have an answer for you for that is because Liberate, I don't know what they're doing. So I don't know
Okay,
how I haven't even gotten that far yet. But the split's happening.
great.
And it's gonna be awesome. I love Liberate. That's my favorite Long Island band right now.
Mhm.
So I'm really excited for that.
Two new songs,
3 new songs, man.
three new
We're
songs.
gonna
Okay.
do, yeah, each band will do 3 songs. So you'll have 6 new tracks, 3 from each of us.
How many new songs do you guys have? Put the three new ones aside.
Um, Probably like 5. Well, we want to like our plan is to like after we put the split out, we're really gonna just try and buckle down and crank a new project out. I would like to do an LP, but I mean, it's really realistically, it's probably gonna be an EP again.
Mhm.
Um, but I really just want to sit down and hammer like add some tracks because like the thing about our band is like we all do different things. Like I work for a heat and oil company. Charlie, he works at a school. Matt is local 3. Dan, Stan, and Jake's on call. So like we all have different like life schedules. So it's been really hard for us to link up. But these
Yeah.
past few weeks we've been getting together and writing.
Okay.
Um,
Good.
I just want to take our time, man, because a lot of the times like we'll sit down, we knock tracks out and they're fire, but like I know we could potentially make a classic if we just sit down and take a little extra time with it. So that's really what I want to do next. Yeah.
Yeah. And then back to like I said, in the moment, it's just you're not rushing anything. It's gonna happen,
Yeah,
right?
man.
So
The music's gonna come, the
right,
shows are gonna happen. It's a matter of when the stars align. So
right.
but I'm glad we got a little plan. The split is gonna be dope. So I think people are gonna be excited.
Great. And it sounds like a year from your last relief, give or take. Last release,
Yeah,
give or
yeah.
take.
Bite the Apple came out in July
Right,
30th.
August. Yeah.
July 30th. It was like the day
Yeah.
after the tour ended.
Yeah. So like perfect timing for you.
Yeah. So it'll be
Um,
cool, man.
yeah, it's gonna be great. So one last question, and then I do this quick a bunch of questions first thing that come to mind. But
Sure.
with this one, if you can go back a little, what advice would you give yourself as a teenager?
Um,
Where you are now? Like, because you've experienced a lot, you've been to a lot of places, you've done a lot musically.
um, what advice would I give to myself as a teenager? I'd probably tell myself to, and this is crazy because you said, but I would tell myself to live in the moment more. You know what I mean? Cherish a lot of the moments that I was in because like I like I hate to keep bringing it up, but like I said, my homie just passed away, so I've just been going through a lot of different like memories of like the past few years, and like just looking at stuff from like 5 or 6 years ago, and like that I don't even remember. And it's like, damn, like I was so in the moment, like just so in what was happening that I didn't realize how special the moment was,
Right.
So
Right.
I would just, cherish more of those moments, pay attention more, listen to more music in my free time. I mean, I listen to so much music, but like I don't know, I don't know. I guess that's it really.
Yeah. No, that's
Like
great.
musically, that's all I would really tell
No, no,
myself.
that's great. And music's important, man,
Yeah, because
and
a lot of like experience comes with the time too, In the past 5 or 6 years, I've learned so much. It's crazy. Shout out Jimmy from Live Taken's calling me right now.
oh, it's-
Uh, Jimmy, I'm in an interview. I'll call you back. All right, Jimski. All good, brother.
See, I love that, and that goes with. And by the way, that's making it on when this thing comes out,
Yeah,
because
that's cool. Yeah, I don't care.
no, it's almost again. I'm going to go with how this shows you got. Look how you guys are, like all of you, like it's just it's cool, like how that's all
Yeah,
comes about with you guys.
I love my friends, man, and like
Important.
I'm gonna make a point to say it more often, because
Yeah.
life is so short, man. We gotta appreciate the people we got.
I agree with you. And it's funny, like me going back in the day, it's like, reconnecting with a lot of people that I was, boys with back in the 90s, always stayed with, but it's just reconnecting with them now. And it's awesome. And that's
Yeah,
what's awesome about this hardcore scene is like these are friends for life. Like you might go separate ways a little bit here and there, but these are people you're always going to be connecting and speak and talking to. And that's
yeah,
that's that's
100%, man.
what I love about this. So
It's the beauty of it.
yep, agree, man. So, all right. So now just a bunch of questions. First thing that come to mind with it.
Cool.
What are your, and this does not have to be hardcore. What are your top three favorite all-time albums?
Mm. Iowa, Slipknot. Uh, I brought you my bullets. You brought me your love. My Chemical Romance. Uh, Getting Away with Murder. Papa Roach.
Hmm, three different
All
albums
right,
too.
that's
That's
the
great.
three most influential to my life and probably steered me in the direction I'm in right now. So
Right.
I'd say
Right. Look
those.
how you started off with talking about Papa Roach, that song, right?
Yeah.
Favorite show you played?
Ugh. uh, Damn, man. I'm gonna have to say, ah, I can't answer that, man. It's hard. All right, I'll say one of the craziest shows we played. Well, two shows. We played Tennessee twice. Once last March and once with Private Mind in July. The first time we played Tennessee, it was the weirdest vibes ever. Like the opening, like everything was just so weird and strange. And then we played, and everyone was beating the shit out of each other, and it was insane. Like I have pictures of like that show, and it's just like people literally just like clobbering each other. I think
Right.
that was crazy. The second time we played out there, like we had to restart the first song because when we started, people just started going so crazy they knocked Charlie's guitar shit over, and it was fucked up. And then I would say the Meat Locker, which was our
Right.
second show.
Cool.
It's just like a legendary last laugh show. If you were there.
Right.
And then and that's like our running joke too. Like whenever we have a show and like if the show's not going the way we want it, we just be like, "Yo, come on, what the fuck? Jersey was better." Like for a
Have
minute, like
fun
we
with it.
were the
What was the
New
band
Jersey.
you last listened to?
The band I last listened to, Crown of Thorns.
Grant Thorns. The EP, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a classic.
Graveyard Blues.
That's a classic. Uh, a band you would love to play with. You haven't had a
Um,
chance to.
Crown of Thorns. Probably we were supposed to play a Crown of Thorns in Atlanta, and we couldn't fly out. Um,
Mhm.
Damn, a band I would really want to play with. That's a hard question, man. Probably Fatal Realm right now. That band fucking is fucked up, bro.
Yeah.
I love that band.
Okay.
I'd say
Cool.
Fatal Realm. Legendary band King Nine, which could happen, but
It could, right, because
it
they're
could happen.
still doing their thing.
Yeah,
Still, playing a show or writing music.
playing a show.
Playing a show.
Playing a show.
Like nothing
I would
better
write
than
the
it, right?
music at the show. So
Yeah,
I don't care.
yeah.
Playing the show. Yeah.
Favorite release of 2024.
Hmm. That's a good question. I'm probably gonna say the Fatal Realm
Favorite one.
EP. Um, no, Standstill album.
Hey, that's a great album.
Standstill album.
Yeah, I'm psyched. I'm gonna have those guys on soon. I'm looking forward to that. There.
Those are my brothers. I have the first Standstill tattoo.
Oh, yeah, that too. Okay.
The first, they brought me on my first tour, so
Ah, cool. So you even did it that way too. You kind of, yeah. So that's great.
Yeah.
Uh, all right. So now it's like choosing between. All right. So the Pain of Truth full length or their EP.
Trying to get me in trouble.
They
Ah,
both kill. They
I'm
both
gonna say
kill.
the EP just because I played the release shows. I did rap at the release shows.
Cool.
And honestly, like I remember the first time I heard those songs, and I was like, dude, this is fucking crazy. I remember Michael had a Pain of Truth tattoo before the band was even like a thing yet. Like
Mhm.
he's like, yeah, it's gonna be my new band. It's like he's got it on his arm. If you ever interview him, ask him. He'll show you.
Yeah, I want him. I want him at some point on. He's
But the record
stories.
is also ridiculous. He showed me the
Yes.
record at Shakers at I think Last Wishes played at Shakers, and he showed me the record minus the incendiary feature because that was being recorded the next day. But yeah,
Okay.
the record is amazing too. I seen like sometimes I'll browse on like hardcore Reddit just to see like what stupid shit people are saying. And someone like posted the other day because I like to see what people say about my friends too. So someone the other day was like, "Oh, like is the singer of Pain of Truth like DJ Khaled? Because how did they get all these like different features?" But if you know Michael, you know how deep rooted in hardcore he is, and
Yeah.
his brothers, Backtrack, like all that shit. Michael's been around for so long and knows so many people through Backtrack and all these different shows that like it's nothing for him to get those features.
Yeah. You know, one thing with them is I've seen them at Pain. I've seen them at AMH. I've seen them at the Prudential Center, and they like owned that stage on Prudential
Dude,
Center.
I gotta like,
It was
I
crazy.
love that band,
Yeah.
and I have a lot of love for Michael Smith. Yo,
Yeah.
shout out to Michael Smith. Like
Yeah. They're killing it, and
he believes in this band, Last Laugh, like so much, and he's put on for us. We played the Pain of Truth set up to play our record release show. They headlined it. You know what I mean? Like that's just like
it's awesome.
ridiculous. So shout out to Michael, man. That's the homie.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, all right. So, he's one of my two favorites. Set it off for demonstrating my style through Madball. It's a tough one.
Oh, I'm gonna say set it off.
Yeah, set it off is just all time classic. But then you have
Yeah.
demonstrating my style, which is another one. But set it off. Yeah, I'm with you with that. I'll lean with
I
that one.
probably I'll probably listen to demonstrating my style more, but I don't know. Set it off is just
Yeah, it's
this is
just
the classic, bro. You
it's that
can't.
one. It's it. You know,
It's
urban
pivotal. It's
discipline.
influential. So I feel
It
like
is. It is. So this one I know you're a biohazard guy. Urban discipline or state of the world address.
Urban Discipline.
Urban discipline. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, last one. A band. Well, you've actually mentioned a lot of different bands, but out of some of the bands that you talked about, a band that you like that may surprise people.
Like hardcore band or just like any
All right,
band?
doesn't matter. Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's hard to say. I mean, I'd say Papa Roach, but I mean, like I have Papa Roach hoodie, I have a Papa Roach dicky jacket. Like I don't really hide my Papa Roach influence. I like this band called Men I Trust a lot. They're like indie psychedelic kind of like rock,
Yeah.
like ambient vibes. Uh, this other band, Krangbin, they're like a jam band. They're fucking sick.
Cool. Yeah.
It's completely unrelated to hardcore. Those two
No,
bands.
but I could see you being like just from talking here and that with all the stuff you're into. Absolutely, I could see you being into that different
Yeah, I
stuff.
just
I think
love
that's
music,
important.
man. All
Yeah,
different types of music. Like I try and listen to everything. Like even like country. Like I was never a big country fan. But like as I'm getting older, like I try and give things a shot.
I feel I'm with you. Like when I was never into it at all, and I'm doing that now. I'm trying.
Yeah, there's some good country out there, man. You just
There
gotta
is,
like
man.
find it. It's
There
there.
is. Jay, man, thanks so much. Appreciate it
Of
for you
course,
coming
man.
on here. And just hang tight. I'm just going to sign us off and then we'll wrap it up after I'm done. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
All right. Awesome. Thanks, buddy. All right. Thank you for listening to the What Lies Ahead podcast, which is available on all streaming platforms. Go save the What Lies Ahead podcast playlist on Spotify that features all bands on the show. For more information on future episodes, you can go to my Instagram account and follow us at What Lies Ahead _podcast and on Facebook by searching What Lies Ahead podcast. See you on the next episode.